Are you gonna help me, Noodle? Yeah. You gonna help me, Wolfie? Yeah. Hello, moon babies. This is Molly. Thank you so much for being here and joining me here on the channel. We are in a different space today because it is a very December-y day and I'm chasing the light. So I'll be coming to you from my living room this afternoon. So what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is one of the most frequently asked questions that I receive, which is just about general art witching tips. So I thought that's what we could chat about today. I don't know exactly how many of them there are going to be. I'm always a little leery to number these because I always number them wrong. There's either more or less. So let's just say these are my 5-ish tips for art witching. So first let's talk a little bit about what Art Magick is, if you are unfamiliar with the idea. And Art Magick, in my personal definition, is about using art practices and mediums for spiritual growth, or as a spiritual or magical tool. So my first tip, I guess, would be for us to expand our idea of what it means to be creative. I can't tell you how many times people write to me and say, oh, I can't draw and I can't paint, but I make jewelry and I knit and that's okay. Like, that's more than okay. That's incredible. That is an act of creation. So that is a creative act. You are a creative force when you do those things. So the act of making anything, bringing anything to life, is a creative act. It's not just about what we learn in a traditional Western fine art course, okay? So everything that we do has the potential to become an art project. Everything has potential to be art magic. So maybe we could assess what ideas we have around creativity that's holding us back from our genius and really expand our ideas of what being creative really encompasses. One of the things that I try to remember in my art witching endeavors is that the work I am doing is sacred, but it's not necessarily precious. They are not mutually exclusive ideas, right? So the act of making the thing is really where the energy is for me. So if it doesn't work out, I can throw it away or revise it or start over. And you may even decide that after you've created the thing, that's all you really needed to do. You needed to make the thing to process the ideas or formulate your idea altogether. But the thing itself isn't necessarily precious. So sometimes we really get wrapped up in the perfection of the thing, right? It has to be perfect and holy and flawless. And sometimes we get so wrapped up in that idea that we don't even actually start the project because we're worried about making it profane by taking it out of the realm of our imagination and into real life, and that it won't meet our expectations. But art creation for magical purposes is different. It's about what it does for you. So personally, I don't create super finely rendered, varnished oil paintings in sacred space. I use things like crayons and macaroni and trash that I find because I'm not bogged down and tied to the preciousness of the materials of what feels like a fine arty project, and it allows me to tap in to a play state of mind. So being less attached to the outcome can help. So sacred in purpose, yes, but not always precious. Yes. Oh, chin pets. Oh, we love the chin pet story. Yes. So my third art witching tip would be honor the work by showing up. So what does that mean? Creative endeavors require our effort, right? And that could mean just showing up to your studio space. It could be about scheduling a time to create what it is that you want to create. It might just be about biting the bullet and finishing something that you started that's making you feel guilty about not finishing it. It means sticking with it when the road gets bumpy. I guess I'd like to speak here for just a moment to the defense of suffering. Like, that sounds terrible. But what I mean by that is that there's this idea floating around in magical, spiritual, self-helpy communities that everything is supposed to be flowy and easy, and that if it's meant for you, it should be really easy, right? And I think that that's sort of a harmful myth, really. If I'm being honest, if writing songs was supposed to be flowy and easily and it all just magically poured out of me, and that was my signal that the universe wanted me to do this work, I would never have written a singular song. Just because something is difficult doesn't mean that it's not for you. So we become proficient at things by practicing, right? And practicing is not always glamorous. So, art witching by showing up, getting dirty. Play with it, play with it. You can achieve serious works with play. So I know that's something that I've received some feedback and criticism about, that this is fluffy, this isn't real work. But I do honestly believe that you can achieve serious work, serious shifts in your life and in your mindset through play. We can process trauma using finger paints. We can process grief using Play-Doh. We can write rhymes and limericks to work on our debt. We can glue googly eyes to rocks to uplift our communities. If making some sort of super serious magnum opus or 5-year-long super sigil isn't your style, don't do it that way. You don't have to. In my personal experience, I'm finding more and more often that the work we do around play is really the most effective magic, right? It's the magic that we stumble on. It's the magic that comes naturally to us. We talk about this idea a lot in Art Magick with the elements. If it freaks you out, it's probably where we need to go. If it makes you a little nervous, if it makes you a little uncomfortable, if it's outside of your wheelhouse, it's probably exactly where you need to go. Oh, you have an itch. Oh, get the itch. Okay. Try a material that you've always wanted to try. Work on a skill that you'd like to have more mastery of. For me right now, I'm working a lot with dance. I am terrible. I'm so awkward that I make myself uncomfortable. But in sticking with it and working through it, I'm receiving a lot of really interesting insights, and it's seeping in to other areas of my work that I really never anticipated. So go where the freak out is. So speaking to the idea of insight seeping into other areas of your work, let's talk a little bit about inspiration. Inspiration is everywhere. I would encourage art witches to not discount the value or the magical properties of a source of inspiration because it didn't come from somewhere that is outwardly witchy in appearance. So I used to think that inspiration was this sort of light bulb moment, a eureka moment, angelic heralds telling you exactly what it is that you need to make. And I found that it's really more like a web. It's really more like a trickster that gives you one crumb, and then you scuttle to the next crumb, and then the next crumb. And they all at the time seem to be unrelated. You don't understand how these things are stringing together until you've created the thing. And it always takes you somewhere that you never truly anticipated that it would. And that's part of the magic. So, being vigilant to inspiration. So Wolfie and I want to thank you so much for being here and for watching, and I hope that some of these tips are helpful to you in your art magic practices and in your art witcheries. If you're interested in learning more about that, I've got lots of goodies on Bandcamp as well as Patreon, where we party every month. I want to thank you again for watching, and until next time, witch on, witch boldly, and be well, moon babies. Bye-bye.